Okay, welcome to the next video in topic 1.4, making the startup effective for Edexcel GCSE business. This topic is the importance of limited liability. This is a topic that students quite often get really confused about, but actually it shouldn't be that difficult to grasp. So hopefully this video will give you the basics for what you need to know for this topic area. The 4 key words to know, or 4 key terms for this video: sole trader. You should be comfortable with what a sole trader is. It's just somebody who owns a business. These terms, unlimited and limited liability, are what we're going to talk about today. And companies, I know that if you've sat in my classroom, we've spoken quite a lot about never using the word companies. Always use the word organisation, because you can't be wrong if you use the word organisation. But today we're going to introduce the word company, and by the end of this little video tutorial and the lessons that we've done, you should be able to use the word company at the right time and in the right place. So let's crack on. We're going to look at sole traders. Now, sole traders have unlimited liability, and this is effectively what unlimited liability is. So I've decided I'm going to open up a coffee shop. Just one little coffee shop. It's just me, and I've set this coffee shop up, and as a result, I'm an incredibly happy man. Unfortunately, my coffee shop doesn't do too well, and I end up getting into debt. So that makes me a very sad man. Then the bank get in touch with me and they turn around and say, look, we're really sorry, but unfortunately you borrowed some money from us, and your business is in debt, it's not doing well, we want our money back. And I say, oh, I can't afford it, I haven't got the money, I can't give you it back. And they say, well, unfortunately you're a sole trader. So as a sole trader you have unlimited liability, and what that means is that the debts of the business are also your debts, and as a result, your nice house, nice car, we want you to sell them. Anything, any of my personal possessions, they could ask me to sell them. That's unlimited liability. It's when you and the business are seen as the same legal entity. So you and the business are one in the same. If you get into debt, somebody could ask you to sell your business, but if your business gets into debt, somebody could ask you, or whoever you owe money to, could ask you to sell your personal possessions as well. So when we set up as a sole trader, it's pretty risky, because we're taking the chance that if our business gets into debt or gets into trouble, that actually they could eventually take things off us, our personal possessions. So it's quite a risky way to set up a business, but there are advantages of being a sole trader as well. What I'd suggest that you do at this point is maybe watch this example a couple of times over, maybe make your own sort of visual representation of what unlimited liability is, and then, you know, if you need to check it with me in the classroom, that's fine. So now we'll have a look at what is limited liability. Now, if you don't want to take the risk of being a sole trader, if you're worried that your business might get into debt and you don't want to lose any of your personal possessions like your house or your car, then you could set up as an LTD, or a limited company. Now they have limited liability, which is the opposite of unlimited liability. So let's just have a look at another example. So I decided I'm going to open up a coffee shop again, but this time I'm not prepared to take the risk. I want to be a happy coffee shop owner, and so what I say is I'm going to set up as a limited company. Now, limited company effectively puts a brick wall between you and your business. And what it means is that you and your business are separate, a separate legal entity. You are not one in the same. Your debts can't be passed on to the business, and the business's debts can't be passed on to you. So let's just go through the example again. So I get into debt, I'm a very sad shop owner, and therefore the bank come knocking. But this time, I'm a little bit happy, because the bank can't take my house, they can't take my car, because of these limited brick walls. I am separate to my business. So what the bank can actually do is say, look, well, we're going to put something up for sale, it's going to be your shop. The only money a limited company risks losing is the money that you put in at the beginning. So in my coffee shop, I might say I've saved up £10,000 and invested it in advertising for the coffee shop, or maybe bought some a fancy coffee machine, or maybe bought a computer for the coffee shop. But if I've bought it for the coffee shop, if it's in the coffee shop, it's not mine. and therefore if we get into debt, then that sort of stuff could be sold. Anything connected to the coffee shop are the things that could be sold, but all my personal possessions remain my own. That's the difference between limited and unlimited liability. So let's just have a quick look at the advantages and disadvantages. So if we think about a sole trader who has unlimited liability, why would you possibly do it? Why would you set up that way? Well, the advantages are that it's quick and easy. It's one of the quickest ways to set up a business. I could literally walk out my front door now with a bucket, a sponge and a ladder and offer to clean the windows of the people over in number 7, and that would make me a sole trader. It's private. I don't have to publish any accounts. So at the end of each year, and we'll look at it with limited in a minute, some businesses like limited companies have to publish accounts. I don't have to if I'm a sole trader. As a sole trader, I have sole ownership. I can't have any other people who are owners of the business. It's just me who owns the business. But a big mistake that often GCSE students make is that they think that a sole trader can only have one person in the business, and that's not true. As a sole trader, I can employ as many people as I want, but I can only have one owner, or there can be only one owner. But the advantage of there being only one owner, at the end of the year, the month, whenever, the profit is all mine, or all the owners. The disadvantages are you risk losing everything. You risk losing your business, your house, any savings that you've got, any personal possessions that you've got. You could lose it all as a sole trader. It can sometimes be a bit harder to raise investment because it's so easy to set up. People are maybe a little bit more wary, banks or private investors may be a little bit more wary about investing. And you're on your own. Because you are the only owner, you could employ people who are great, intelligent people around you, but because they're not the owners of the business, they will never, or unlikely, to ever be able to work as hard as you, or to be as committed as the owners of a business, because they're never going to have as much personal investment in it. And so disadvantage of sole trader is, although you might employ people, you are always going to be just the one person who's in charge. Limited company. So the advantages and disadvantages are almost just switched around. The advantages of a limited company are that you can sell shares. So that means I could, if I've got my limited coffee shop and I want to bring someone in who's really good at finance, I might say to someone, well, look, why don't you put some money in, maybe invest £20,000 into this business. You come on as the financial director and you run all the finance side of the business, and, you know, get some money into the business, and it also brings in some people with new skills. So limited companies are a great way of bringing in new people who have to invest money into the business in order to make the business more successful, bigger. You don't risk losing personal possessions. So that's the big, obviously, advantage of being a limited company. You have limited liability and therefore you don't risk losing personal possessions. Disadvantages are there has to be a minimum of one shareholder in a limited company. But if you're going to set one up, there's a possibility you might encourage more people to invest, to put money into the business. And so if you've done that, maybe there's 3 people who are co-owners or shareholders, then they will have to share the profits. You may have to give up control. So you bring in a couple more people as directors and shareholders, and over time things start to change, and maybe the share within the business increases as well. Because maybe you need a bit of money and you start to do deals with those other shareholders, and it might result in you having to give up control at some point. You have to publish accounts. So at the end of each year, it can be a pretty expensive job to have to publish the accounts of the whole year, and you publish them at Companies House, so anyone can see them. Now, why this is a bit of a disadvantage is it can be a bit expensive to do. It's a bit tricky to do. You might have to get professionals involved. But equally, your competitors and your potential customers can see how well you're doing. So let's just say you're having a bit of a bad year and you're not doing particularly well. Then you want to apply for a really big contract. The customer might have a look at your account and say, actually, this business doesn't look as if it's doing too well. Do we really want to have these as our suppliers if they might close down in a few months' time? And so there's a possibility that those published accounts could ultimately cause you problems. And another disadvantage might be it's more, or it is more expensive and longer to set up. So unlike the sole trader where I can just walk out the door, you can't do that with a limited company. You have to register their name, make sure no one else has got the same name, start to think about how you're going to record or keep records. So there's an exam practice question here. So this is one of the previous exam questions. It's a typical exam question, so you can have a go at this in a minute. Other typical exam questions that you might get are fundamentally about the advantages and disadvantages between sole traders and limited companies. So if you know the difference between limited and unlimited, and you know the advantages and disadvantages of being a sole trader or a limited company, then you should be absolutely fine. So have a go at the exam practice question. Make sure you really understand the difference between limited and unlimited, and make some of your own sort of visual representations of those, and make sure you're aware of advantages and disadvantages, and you should be absolutely fine for any questions that are thrown at you in the exam. Hope this video was helpful.